Namaste, you're on The Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narsimhan. We move away from the newsroom into the studio on this very, very special edition of The Nation at 5, ladies and gentlemen, with a warning. With a warning that the enemy is ready to disrupt our celebrations. 10 days before the third anniversary of the abrogation of Article 370. 20 days before India celebrates 75 years of independence and ushers in perhaps the Amrit Mahotsav and the Amrit Kal of our Azadi. There is the enemy waiting with impatience. We are given to understand that jihadi outfits are desperate to breach our borders and break into our soil and cause mayhem. There is a desperation to show some kind of karnama, and there is an instigation from the establishment too, which fails on any other narrative other than the Kashmir bogie. And with Jammu and Kashmir unfurling the Tiranga and the Har Ghar Tiranga in Jammu and Kashmir like it is across the rest of the country, ladies and gentlemen, there are those who do not want this happening. And that's the reason why there are not just launch pads but terror camps brimming with jihadis who have now been trained under a mixed module where the Lashkar, the Jaish, the Al-Badar and all the other terror outfits like the Harkat-ul-Mujahideen, the Hizbul and the J&K Ghaznavi force have all combined ranks and pooled in their cadre to try, and it's all happening under the aegis of the Pakistani establishment, under the watchful eyes of the ISI and a colonel from the Pakistani army. All of this is part of intelligence inputs that we have unearthed and we have accessed here at CNN News 18. This is a big, big exclusive, and the information comes via our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. Here is the information, ladies and gentlemen. This is what top intelligence sources are telling CNN News 18. Explosive details of terror training camps in Pak-Occupied Kashmir. On Friday last, we told you the launch pads. Now we are taking you a step behind to the feeders to these launch pads, that is the terror training camps. What we have learned is that there are 3 prominent clusters that are fully operational in Pak-Occupied Kashmir and also certain parts of Pakistan. Now the last regions are in Manshera, Muzzafarabad and also in the Kotli region where these terror training camps have now been established. The ISI has facilitated the terror camps for all groups, and these groups are the Lashkar, the Jaish, the Al-Badar and the Hizbul Mujahideen, largely the bigger chunks. These clusters also have 3 brigades of the Pak army located, namely in Kotli. The main focus of these camps is to work as feeders to the launch pads that are located in the forward areas, and this time the concentration is largely in at the international border and not along the line of control. Now, let's try and understand where they lie. All the camps are active, facilitated by the ISI, coordinated by the Pak army. That's what we are seeing. So you have the first cluster, which is in Manshera, which is Balakot, Garhi Habibullah and Boi. Then you have the next cluster, which is in Muzzafarabad. And in Muzzafarabad, there are 4 camps. There are 4 camps in Muzzafarabad. So that's the Manshera camp, which Balakot, Garhi Habibullah and Boi. Then cluster number 2, as we push it and we see cluster number 2 emerging in the Muzzafarabad region. Muzzafarabad is also the capital of Pak-Occupied Kashmir. Abdullah bin Masood, Dulai, Chelabandi and also the Shawai Nala. So these are the 4 camps which are operating in Muzzafarabad. And then you have Kotli. And in this Kotli region, again, just where the Pak army brigades are, around that, you have these camps. So you have in Kotli, you've got the Dubgi, Gulpur, Sensa and Fagosh. So there are 4 locations where you are having the Pakistan backed, the establishment backed, monitored camps of the terrorists. Now we are given to understand that in Shakargarh, one of the launch pads, which is closer to the international border, Asghar Kashmiri or Rauf Asghar was seen. Now he is clearly the Sargana of the Jaish-e-Mohammad. Al-Badar has Bakht Zameen Bakht. So he is part of the Al-Badar group. He's been sighted there. Tala Said of the Lashkar, he's also been sighted. So these Sarganas or these heads are the ones who are also supervising these training camps. Now more news coming through, ladies and gentlemen. More news as we get you another input. Now the forward areas. They are just 2 or 3 kilometers close to the line of control in Gurez. So you have, these are the forward areas. So the feeder is happening from this region, POK training camps, and then they're moved towards the forward areas, which are just 2 or 3 kilometers from the LOC and also the IB. So you got the LOC in Gurez, Kale, the Neelam Valley, then you have the Tangadar, Uri, Chakoti, then you come down towards Gulmarg, Punch, Rajouri, Manshera, Sundarbani sectors, where you again come in beyond the LOC into the IB. So this is where they are all now stationed in this region, not so far away. Interestingly, these are also the spots from where the drones are coming through. So what happens is Pakistan is able to launch multiple attacks and also execute infiltration operations simultaneously along the LOC, and also now we are given to understand they are focusing southward closer to the IB and in that Jammu sector where they are wanting to get really active, we are given to understand. So the drones also emerge from here. So the Pakistani-backed Pakistani drones, the army-backed drones are from these camps and around these launch pads from where the drones send in the weapons, and then these people are digging those tunnels. Remember the tunnels that were unearthed? They are using those new tunnels and also from the older routes, trying activating some of them to try and push infiltration. More importantly, there is a certain amount of disconcert, or there is a kind of restlessness which is happening in the jihadi outfits ki hame karna hai, cadre are waiting, we need action, kitna training karayenge, action chahiye, action. Now they were asked to sit quiet because there is ceasefire that's been followed, and this ceasefire was largely to emerge out of the FATF grey list. They wanted to keep the borders quiet, but the infiltration has continued. Now they want to get it active and they want to do something very big because they believe that Kashmir narrative is the only thing that's left for them to survive and to continue. Now we also have the inside track. What top intelligence sources are telling us here at CNN News 18. Top intelligence sources have told us that these training camps are filled with recruits from South Punjab, and the cadre are of all terror groups. Lashkar, Jaish, Al-Badar, Hizbul-Mujahideen, Harkat-ul-Mujahideen, J&K Ghaznavi force, they're all present there. The cadre are mostly youth in their 20s who have come from South Punjab, largely jobless and misguided, radicalized, and they are being trained there. The nature of training is in arms and also fidain, or that is suicide attacks. They move just before winter, and the OGW sitting in Srinagar work as their supervisors. The OGWs also get the weapons sent by the ISI through drones. So the OGW network, their job is to collect the weapons and also act as the receivers to these infiltrators and guide them, give them an idea of the lay of the land, and then they bring them. General A.K. Sivach is with us, defense expert. He served in that region, so he understands the complications there. I have Brigadier Vinod Datta with me and Dr. Monica Verma, strategic affairs expert, also with us this evening. Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I just want to understand, General Sivach, this desperation to do a Karnama, and especially over the next 20 days, it's very imminent. And there is also clear intelligence which says that the Pakistani establishment believes their politics is failing, their economy is failing, the inflation is sky high, there is no electricity, there are protests in POK and POJK which are happening among the civilian population because wahan khana, bijli, kuch bhi nahi hai. And they are having to fire at the local population there. They believe they have to unsettle Kashmir. One Karnama in Kashmir, it will set the narrative right. The K bogie is the only thing that works for them. Now we have coordinates not just of the launch pads, but also now locations of the terror camps.
Absolutely. See, Anand, I have served in Kashmir Valley for more than 20 years, and I commanded a brigade on line of control at Machal. No doubt about it. There are not only the terrorists which are sitting on a launch pad starting from Gurez, Machal, Tangdhar, then your Baramulla, then coming to Uri, and then Gulmarg, and thereafter Punch, Rajouri, and Sundarbani. But there are also the training camps are full. There are about 10,000 terrorists which are being trained for Fidain attack, almost about 500 of them. Remember, those who were fighting along with the Taliban in Afghanistan are also now back, and they are equipped with the most modern weapons which were left by the Americans, M4. So the point which is today there, the confusion and chaos which is going in Pakistan, they want the attention to be diverted because Pakistan is politically and economically failing, and inflation rate is almost about 30 to 40% there. That is almost $180 billion. They are in a state of a crisis, and in this scenario, They want that the Kashmir issue should be ignited so that they can divert the attention. Now, what they are doing is they will try to infiltrate maximum terrorists during this window, which is available from now up till November. And all these launch pads are full. They will try to push them. And this time, what they are doing very correctly brought out and appreciated. They don't have to send too many weapons. That they can send it through drones, and the overground worker pick them up and then give to them. So overall, what is happening is they are now restless. They are trying to send maximum terrorists, and Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammad, Al-Badar and JM, they all are active now. And what happened as far as Kashmir Valley is concerned, they are losing a battle because maximum leadership of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammad and Hizb-ul-Mujahideen have been wiped out. There are about 125 terrorists which are left. But the fresh terrorists, if they come and the fresh leadership it will create a challenge in Kashmir Valley. That is what Pakistan is now hoping. And Pakistan is not only now looking after North Kashmir, it is also focusing on South Kashmir. Now, this is the change. 2-3 things are changed. One is the terrorists which are sitting are more than 10,000 in POK. Second thing is, in addition to the North Kashmir, they are going to activate South Kashmir. Third thing is maximum weapons, ammunition as well as drugs will be sent through the drones. And before the winter set in, their target is to almost send almost 500 to 600 terrorists in Kashmir Valley to create a mayhem and to show to the world that Kashmir is still a disturbed area and divert the attention of the people of basically Pakistan, where there is a total failure and today there is an economic and political crisis. Anand.
Ji, and more importantly, the kind of focus that they're saying, there is a certain disconcert. The jihadi groups are also, they may just end up doing something which is pushing them to a certain level of desperation because they want to show some activity and they want to earn funding. More interestingly, they are combining ranks. Dr. Monica Verma is there with us. Brigadier Datta, I'll just bring her in and then I'll come across to you. Dr. Monica Verma, these outfits combining ranks. Now, the NIA charge sheet, if my memory serves me right, talked about a United Jihad Council. It talked about a UJC which is now trying to bring these ranks together, and they are now trying to cross-pollinate and also dip into each other's capabilities. This only proves that they is not just doing it on a random basis. They're doing it with a concerted effort, saying that let's all pool in resources now.
Absolutely, Anand. In fact, one thing that I would like to speak here is this, that all of this is taking place while Taliban is back in Afghanistan. And the huge, amounts of ammunition, weapons, everything that the US has left behind in Afghanistan has come in the control of the terror forces. So now, you have around 7 billion worth ammunition that are available for a wrong purpose. And add to that, the desperation to exit the FATF list. This is the only reason why Pakistan was lying low. This was the only reason why, there was not much activity in the POK terror camps. Despite, I would like to bring to your notice in October and November last year in 2021, there were a series of reports that how these terror camps have again become activated. And after the surgical strikes by India also, there were certain reports that they are now coming back to life. So all these activities, all these events need to be stitched together. So it's not just the council that you are talking about, it's also the return of Taliban. So right now, POK is suffering from twin problems. It's not just the terror camps, but you also have to add to it the level of discomfort and anger in the POK youth against the Pakistani establishment. And in order to make sure that they stay silent, in order to make sure that they Taliban is supplying with the weapons, and on the other hand, there's also a lot of drug supply which is taking place in POK. So you may not have access to food, you may not have access to healthcare and education, but you definitely have access to a lot of cheap drugs. So there are news, if you just scan the internet and look at the ocean sources, these drugs are widely available in the POK region right now.
Yeah.
So on one hand, we have terror camps which are again active, and just, a day before China blocked India's and US effort to designate Makki as a terrorist. And in 2022, in October, Pakistan is going to face the FATF again. But within all this, one truth that cannot be denied is that all these forces against India are definitely united, and they are becoming dangerous by each passing day.
Yes, and it is surprising. Now, with the fact that we have the details, there is a certain level of concerted integration also which is happening. The source of all this, all the recruits, the cadre is largely South Punjab. Now, South Punjab, Muridke and all those regions is where Ajmal Amir Kasab also emerged. It was his home. That's also the bastion for the Lashkar. It's the Lashkar headquarters. So, you are getting cadre from there, but then you are using Jaish. And interestingly, they are now going beyond their sectarian rivalries. They are moving beyond the Barelvi, Deobandi and the Wahhabi groups, and they are all pooling in resources, Brigadier Vinod Datta.
Yeah, Anand, you are right. Your observation is 100% correct. Now it is basically the southern part of Pakistan now, which is becoming a hinterland for these terrorist activities, or the recruitment is being done from them. The kind of modus operandi they are following is that they are going to various jails like Fort Lakhpat and various other places, from where they are, asking these criminals to, go across India, and they say that yes, we will provide some kind of financial help to your family, and what you have to do is you have to only facilitate in some kind of recruitment. Because the recruitment in the valley has drastically come down. If you take the figures of 216, 510 cadre were enrolled. 2017, it came down drastically by 126. And then in 2018, it was 218. So the cadre strength of all these tanzeems is dwindling very, very badly. Thirdly, you see, even these tanzeems, they have to, give their report card or the performance card to the Aka, who are sitting in the Pakistan corridors. So what is to be watched is that now Al-Badr, you see, which has got headquarters in Manshera, is the tanzeem which has to be kept under surveillance, because it has been seen that China has been funding these terrorist organizations, that you must create some kind of disturbance in India so that the instability or the peace in that area gets disturbed. So this Sino-Pak collusion, which is being, garnered by the terrorist activities or these kind of sabotage activities, has to be kept in mind, or they have to be kept in surveillance. Of course, if you see the civilian casualty or the stone pelting, ever since this, NIA had tightened the noose, the stone pelting cases have come down drastically. If you see, in 2019, there were 2,000 cases. But in 2020, 87% cases, they were reduced because there were no funds. The money was not coming. The moolah was not coming from the, from Pakistan.
Right.
So what we have to do is we have to firstly dry up all these sources of money which is coming. Secondly, the surveillance spectrum by the security forces and by army in particular has been tightened so much. Now the surveillance is being done through electronic means. It is being done by foot patrol. It is being done by conventional means. And people are being kept under watch. People are being kept under surveillances. Even their financial, accounts or the financial trajectory of their funds, it is being kept under a check, or it is being kept under observation. So if the money is drying down, so is the recruitment. So what we have to do is that we have to keep an eye and a surveillance activities on whether the camps are in Bahawalpur, Muridke, as you rightly brought out.
Yeah.
That is one spot which we have to keep it in mind, because in the northern parts, the passes will start getting closed, say by September or so. So they would try to pump in as many, terrorists or as many as sympathizers as they can. So what we have to do is that we also have to keep a watchful eyes on Muzzafarabad, Mirpur, Bhimber axis, because that is also, like you have already shown, and I can see, that is the area from where maximum infiltration is going to, come inside our boundaries.
Correct, because we see Shakargarh, we are just putting out the launch pads. We put out the launch pad coordinates on Friday. We got those inputs and the point is that there was confirmation that Asgar was seen, Rauf Asgar was seen at Shakargarh. Shakargarh is the Jaish launch pad. So clearly, each of these sarkanas are now getting their individual areas which are their launch pads, like you talked about Al-Badar and Manshera and Bak Zameen present there. Lashkar has its camps, and where the Lashkar presence in Muzzafarabad is there. They're also, but more importantly, earlier they used to compete with each other. Why for attention funds and they're saying कि मैंने ये किया, मैंने वो किया, and they used to get designated jobs to be done. Shivaj Saab. But General Shivaj, in this case now is the ISI and the Pak army saying enough of these groups. You guys all come together. We will pool in resources. Now, is that also tweaking their strategy, just like they've tweaked their strategy to hybrid terrorism now?
Absolutely correct. Yes, Anand, there is no doubt. So 3-4 things stand out. One is the hybrid terrorism, which is now become more prevalent. When they realized it in Kashmir Valley, they have lost the game because there are hardly about 100 terrorists left, and the weapons are not coming, ammunition was not coming. And therefore, they started with this hybrid warfare through drones, small weapon like pistol given to a innocent chap who is not been otherwise in a hit list. And he is creating a mayhem and thereafter basically merging with the population. Now, what is the change of tactics what Pakistan had done is 3-4. One is that they are now trying their best before the winter set in this year. They must try to infiltrate about 400 to 500, Atankvadi. This Fidain also almost about 100 of them, and not only from Kashmir Valley, also from south of Pir Punjab, and that is they are making an effort.
Yes.
And second thing, what they have done, a coordination between Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammad, Hizbul-Mujahideen, Al-Badar, and all these groups have to now coordinate with each other, and ISI is taking care of that. So this is a great change which has happened. Otherwise, the coordination wasn't there. Third thing which they are doing is they are now trying to give lot of financial aid to those people who will now infiltrate. Their family will be taken care of because they are feeling it that they are losing out Kashmir, game. The Kashmir agenda which they have settled for themselves internationally also there is no taker. And within Kashmir, 100 terrorists, 125 terrorists are left. People are not, now in South Kashmir, you do not find that the youth is coming and getting radicalized. They don't want.
Right.
Second thing is that Hawala money is not coming. NIA is choked it. So there is a short of funds. There is short of youth which is being radicalized. Also, the people are not supporting. There are real-time input coming and very successful operation taking place. In this scenario, the Pakistan is feeling restless, helpless, and it want to create again a sort of insurgency back in Kashmir Valley. And that is why the new target has been set in, and they will now try to pump in all these launch pads which are there. They are full, and all the training area.
Right.
We have not really realized that the 10,000 Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammad terrorists which were fighting in Afghanistan along with Taliban, they have all come. They are equipped with a modern weapon left behind by Americans. They are threat by themselves. So the point is, we need to now change the tactics. This, if you remember,
no, but General Saab, there is also this entire aspect that the Taliban cadre, that is largely the Pashtun Afghan cadre, are not very inclined to actually come and attack India, because there is a clear perception there that they have got no bone to pick with India. And their interest is Khorasan, their interest is Afghanistan. So they are more interested because the inputs also say that the Pakistanis have been trying to get TTP or certain factions of the TTP also involved into this group, but the TTP so far has refused. They don't want to get involved and they don't want to see Taliban presence on Indian soil. And there is a reason behind that, because strategically India is doing a lot to help Afghanistan. 50,000 metric tons of wheat is going from India. All the COVID vaccines went from India. Blankets went from India. Humanitarian aid went from India. India is the first one of the nations in this region which said we'll continue to help the people of Afghanistan irrespective of this forceful takeover or changeover which has happened. So there are those elements too. My question is also the fact that if India knows all of this, what are we waiting for? Why aren't we going it and doing a preemptive strike? Or are we waiting for them to fill up to the brim and then eradicate them altogether in terms of the kind of extermination exercise that will happen? Because now Pakistan will be ready for an airstrike. So it's not an airstrike. It's got to happen in another fashion. So if we can get this information clearly, the powers that be have more information as to what is going on over there. Dr. Monica Verma.
I think it's extremely important for us to be doing a preemptive strike instead of just waiting, like you said, waiting for things to turn even more dangerous. But I think right now we ourselves are caught in a lot of things, and these news are not new. Since Taliban has come back in power, we have been looking at certain events taking place in the POK region, and I think we must actually, instead of thinking of the preemptive strike, we can at least do a lot of lobbying and publicity effort at making sure Pakistan does not get an easy exit from the FATF grey list in October. So, there is already a lot of effort being put by the Pakistan establishment, and the government is literally lobbying, with all the friendly countries, so that there's a good image of Pakistan being projected, so that, Pakistan is being seen as someone who has cut down on the number of terrorists in the POK region. But that's not quite true, as we are the number one victim, and we ourselves know the kind of reports that are coming in from POK. So I think doing a strike at this moment won't be good, or won't suit India's interest as much as making sure that the world knows about it. And I think this could be done through various methods. We can put our own diplomatic dispensation to that effect. We can also use our own media. We can talk about it at all the platforms that matter. And if this message reaches the important actors who play a great role in the FATF, that Pakistan must not get an exit from the grey list, that would be our task well done.
Well, if Pakistan continues to remain in the grey list, then these jihadis continue to remain in that side, or they will have to look at ulterior motives. That means the cost of war, or cost of this proxy war, becomes far more dearer to Pakistan. I think what we've done somewhere over the last 3-4 years or 4-5 years is that we've made the cost of waging a war against India far more dearer to the Pakistanis, and it's pinching them because they cannot pull out a penny when they don't have any. So that's what's happening. I've just got an update coming through. Tejinder Sodhi is bringing us a big update, and I'll get your thoughts on this to our panel here, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news, and there's news just coming through at this point, that the Indian Army will set up 4G and 5G based mobile cellular network of its own to be used in mountainous terrain at altitudes of up to 18,000 feet. Now, this move is to counter the 5G network that the PLA has installed on its side along the LAC in eastern Ladakh. The Army has issued an open request for information for this, seeking bids from companies to provide the technology to field formations posted in such high terrain. High-speed network will be installed within 12 months of the contract being signed, and this comes days after the PLA and the CCP installed a 5G along the line of actual control. Tejinder Sodhi now joins us live with more details. So India is also now wanting to match up as far as tech, because one of the concerns was that the Chinese 5G network could actually disrupt our communication lines, and it could blind our radars.
Yes, Anand, you see, now the Indian Army has issued an open request for information from all the companies which deal in cellular network, asking them that the Indian Army wants the information about them setting up the 4G and 5G network that could be operational at up to the height of 18,000 feet. So this is being done to counter China. We know that just a few days ago, China had set up its network, 5G network, near the line of control on its own side in the eastern Ladakh, which has been disrupting the communication on Indian side, and it has so as to make sure that there is high-speed data available for the Indian Army, high-speed the voice calling, clarity in voice calling, and also security in those voice calling which the Army needs. So this open request for information has been given by the Indian Army, requesting all the companies across India to come out with the bids and give them the specifications of the network that they would be installing for the Army. Yes, Anand.
Right. Thank you for your inputs, Tejinder. Quick comment from General Siwach and our other panelists. General Siwach, you've served on this side also and along the line of actual control. Now, I'm going to ask you, are we a little too late? Because the Chinese have already, the PLA has already installed its 5G network. Or is it all right?
No, you see what China has now installed a 5G. It has an adverse impact on our side of the communication, because what is happening, it is also intercepting and also jamming. They have a capability and capacity. Now, the action which Indian Army is taking, that 4G and 5G, is a requirement of day. Have we factored in what the Pakistanis are doing? They are also not far behind, and they have also taken 4G, and they are also having a number of stations wherein their communication system is slightly better. So therefore, it is never too late. We should now start doing 4G and 5G, in the sense that we should able to communicate within ourselves, within the valley. At the same time, we are able to sort of jam the enemy's communication, especially very close to the line of actual control and line of control. My point is that as on today, the collusion which is there between China and Pakistan is becoming very real, and it is becoming more real if you see that they have now started constructing, as far as China is concerned, G915, another highway very close to line of actual control going from Xinjiang to Lhasa. So the Chinese are coming very active now, and the collusion which is taking between China and Pakistan is a real threat in future. We have to factor this. This when we talk about basically two-front war, this will become a ground reality in time to come, and hence whenever we talk about the challenge coming from northern, we should factor even western border and see it how things will unfold in future. And remember the point which is coming is that is not only the air power, which is also a naval power, will make a tremendous impact, and we have.
But it all hinges on communication. I've got Karthik Chopra watching the broadcast, and Dr. Monica Verma, final comment, final word from you, because he's saying that we can use Tetra, we can use fiber networks and other techniques. So on our side, without the risk of jamming, but more importantly, in altitude, line of sight is critical. So we cannot have, we cannot be blinded. So is this timely? Are we a little behind, or do we have the wherewithals to play, to catch up and also to get ahead?
I think more than the wherewithal, at least we have shown some willingness to improve our, capacity in the LAC region, because in 2020 only China had installed 5G network in the LAC region, and in fact, forget the military use, the people who live in these areas have been constantly complaining about not getting access to the communication network. They sometimes have access to the Chinese network, the 4G is working, but in the case of Indian network, they're not able to access it. So I think this open call, this open request by the Indian Army to the companies to provide this network is absolutely late, but also, better late than never. So I think finally we have done some good work on that count, and let's just hope that this is executed on an efficient basis.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for your inputs, Brigadier Datta, General Sivaj, and Monica Verma ji. Thank you for joining us here on this edition of The Nation at 5, a special edition. We brought you a world exclusive. We'll take the story forward later tonight on The Right Stand. For the moment, taking a very, very short break. Stay with us. More coming up.